Hindi po napili at hindi rin po nag-apply. Ito po talaga siguro yung nakalinya para sa akin. 21 years na po ako dito sa isla ng Semirara. Ang trabaho ko po ay isang barangay health worker at 12 years na po akong naninilbihan dito sa barangay Semirara. Nang dahil po sa training na nagustuhan ko pong maglingkod sa barangay Semirara, napakasarap pong maglingkod sa aming kababayan. At yung natutunan ko po sa training is na-i-apply ko po sa aking komunidad. During po ng pandemic is isa po kaming napili ng barangay bilang Barangay Emergency Response Team. Sa mga naka-quarantine is araw-araw po naming minomonitor, chine-check po yung kanilang mga body temps, chine-check po kung meron po silang sign and symptoms. Aking tulong po yung sponsor po ni SMPC company dahil dun po is marami akong natutunan. Hanggang ngayon po, nai-apply ko po sa komunidad. Hindi po namin nakalimutan kung ano po yung training na aming pinagdaanan. Mahirap po sa una pero kumbaga masaya po, nagtagumpay po kami at ngayon 12 years na in service. Thankful po sa SMPC company dahil kung hindi po din sa kanila, SMPC company at ni barangay, siguro po wala po ako dito sa inyong harapan ngayon. Ako si Aileen de los Santos, Barangay Health Worker ng Semirara at ito ang kwentong Semirara ko.
Malaki talaga yung tulong sa amin, yung pamamahay ng SMPC. 58 years old, nakatira sa Semirara, 40 years na isang mangingisda. Yung Semirara noon, bahay noon, parang mga yaring kugon, nipa, ganyan lang. Pero ngayon, malaking pagbabago niya kasi yun na nga, ito na yung mga alos mga bato na yung bahay, magaganda na. Mahirap noon, maliit lang yung bahay namin. Saka yan lang nga, wala kasi kami kayang ipatayo ng malaki. Yung unang bahay nasira, yan ang yung mga bubong niya natanggal. Hindi rin po kami naka-evacuate yung sobrang lakas ng hangin. Dito lang po kami sa loob kasi parang na yung isip namin na parang may bahay na kami na medyo matibay. Parang hindi na rin kami natakot masyado kasi medyo na kami. chef na baga sa bahay na pinagawa sa amin. Labis ako nagpapasalamat sa SMPC na nabigyan kami ng pamahay na ganito. Kasi parang masaya na kami dito sa bahay namin. Hindi katulad noon na medyo hirap kami sa bahay namin. Ay, sobra ako nagpapasalamat sa SMPC. Ako si Rosabilia Largisa, nakatira sa Sitio Villarices, may housing beneficiary ng SMPC at itong kwentong Semirara ko.
Lahat naman po ay napag-aaralan kung mayroon ka lang interest or passion sa trabaho mo. So, nag-start ako as encoder. So, encoder, gano'n. Nag-start talaga sa pinakamababa na posisyon. And madaming mga training, supervisory, coaching and mentoring. Madaming mga trainings na binibigay sa SMPC. Dahil dito na din nagtrabaho yung father ko. So, dahil sa pagtatrabaho niya sa SMPC, nakatapos ako ng pag-aaral. Kasi dito na ako. So, from elementary, high school, hanggang sa nag-college. At first job ko din ang Semirara Mining and Power Corporation. Hindi lang kasi siya as parang departamento na human resource. Kaagapay mo kasi dito madaming tao nakausap. Lahat ng services or lahat ng kailangan ng tao is doon talaga sa human resource lumalapit. So yun yung pinaka-proud na syempre madaming nagpapasalamat sa iyo. Kasi kung marami kang nagawa para sa tao, parang achievement mo din yun para sa sarili mo. Syempre madaming mga bagay na naitulong sa amin yung SMPC. So nakapag-invest kami, mayroon na kaming sariling bahay, lupa, then nag-aaral yung mga anak ko sa magandang paaralan. So, yun siguro yung pinakamalaking achievements din na nangyari sa buhay namin or sa buhay ko bilang empleyado ng Semirara Mining and Power Corporation. Ako po si Almar Valdemar, second generation employee ng SMPC at ito ang kwentong Semirara ko.
Sige sir, lakad ako.
Nakita ko malaking tulong na nandyan ang SMPC kasi hindi ito maganito ang Semirara kung wala ang SMPC. Nakatira sa sitio Pinagpala. Dito sa Semirara ay umabot na ako ng 50 years na ako dito. Ako po ay tubong Romblon. Dati po ay dumadayo lang kami dito mangisda at din nung huli napamahal na sa amin ang lugar dahil maraming isda. Actually noon ay wala pang mga tao dito. Mahirap po nung pagpunta namin dito dahil kayod talaga sa pangingisda. Bumago po ang aming buhay nung nabigyan kami ng livelihood ng SMPC. Actually, nung nandyan na ang unit na binigay ng kumpanya sa amin, lahat ng pangangailangan namin, kung anuman, fuel, ay tinutususan kami ng SMPC. Hanggat lumago, umabot na kami ng 9 na unit, starting year 2000 hanggang 2007. Napakalaki ng suporta ng SIMPA sa buong isla at sa buong sakop ng munisipyo ng Caloya. kasi kumbaga hindi na tayo aangkat. Actually, halos hindi makakaya ang huli namin dito lang. Kaya nag-dispose pa kami sa Batangas or Cavite. Ako po, Joel M. Ignacio, presidente ng SIMPA, at ito po ang kwentong Semirara ko.
Nung nalaman namin na nanalo yung SMPC sa ASEAN Coal Energy Award, dito namin napatunayan na lahat ng pagsisikap, lahat yung kaalaman, lahat yung suporta ay nagbunga. 7 na taon na po akong nagtatrabaho dito sa Semirara. So nung dumating ako dito, nagbago na yung pananaw ko. Yung effort ng Semirara, sobra-sobra pala. Doon ko na-experience kung gaano ka-extensive yung project nila, yung sa reposition and rehabilitation. Kami yung susunod na tatrabaho sa area na iniwan ng minahan. So, ginagawa namin doon is magtatanim. I-improve natin yung biodiversity at saka yung ecosystem. So, pinaka-proud ko dito is yung South Panyan Rehabilitation dahil pasalamat naman kami dahil yung support ng mga executives, lagi silang andyan. Kung ano yung kailangan namin, ano yung mga problema, o even ano yung mga issues na address naman. Yung SMPC, malaki yung sinasabi ko na utang na loob. Dahil dito na rin ako nagkapamilya. Dito na rin ako nagkaroon ng 2 anak. Sa mga benepisyo na binibigay nila, lalo na yung libreng pabahay, libreng tubig, kuryente, libreng sasakyan, at saka yung services nila. So kung may kailangan ka, madali mo lang sila malapitan. Ako si Angelino Yandog, President Forester ng SMPC, at ito ang kwentong Semirara ko.
dito po ako nagsimula. It's time po na ibalik ko din po yung service ko po dito. Naging scholar po ako sa Divine at ngayon po ay nagtatrabaho bilang school dentist nila for almost 4 years na. Ang number one po ay, syempre, I am very proud po talaga na scholar po ako ng SMPC. Ang laki pong tulong po dun sa pag-aaral po doon na bilang scholar po ako. Number one po, napakamahal po ng tuition ng dentistry. Hindi po kami pinapabayaan ng SMPC. Para po siyang tinuturing kami na anak ng SMPC. Pag po usapang edukasyon, fully support po sa SMPC. So, pinag-aral po ako, pinatraining po ako for 6 months bilang oral surgery, then orthodontist for 6 months po. Kasi yun po yung goal ng SMPC in Divine na hindi po namin, kumbaga hindi po namin i-enclose yung services namin. Dapat po din namin po i-extend namin sa community po na connected po si SMPC and si DWSS III po. Ang masasabi ko lang po is maraming salamat po talaga sa inyo. Dahil po binigyan niyo po kami ng oportunidad na yung father namin, mother namin makapagtrabaho po dito. Then, dahil po sa inyo, lahat po kami ay nakapagtapos sa pag-aaral po. Ako po si Dr. Zeldy Villanueva II, scholar po ng SMPC, at ito ang kwentong Semirara ko.
morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2022 Annual Stockholders Meeting of Semirara Mining and Power Corporation. The Chairman of the Board and Chief Executive Officer, Engineer Isidro A. Consunji, will now preside over the meeting.
The meeting will now come to order. Good morning. On behalf of the Board of Directors, we welcome our fellow stockholders to our 2022 annual meeting. Our members of the board, as shown on the screen, are also joining us remotely. Mr. Secretary, has the stockholders of the corporation been duly notified of this meeting?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, our stockholders have been notified of today's meeting. Notice indicating the date, time, venue, and agenda to the stockholders of record date March 14, 2022 have been sent in accordance with the SEC rules, our bylaws, and the guidelines and the requirements and procedure for electronic voting in absentia and participation by remote communication for our 2022 annual stockholders meeting, embodied in the definitive information statement approved by the SEC as follows. On March 28, 2022, by disclosure to the Philippine Stock Exchange and by posting at the corporation's website. On April 4 and 5, 2022, by publication in the business section in print and online of the Business World and the Manila Standard.
Mr. Secretary, do you have a quorum for today's meeting?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum for the conduct of today's meeting. As of March 14, 2022, the record date, the corporation has 4,250,547,620 outstanding common shares, or at least a percentage of shares as shown in the screen of the corporation's outstanding common capital stocks owned by the stockholders who have registered through our online portal and have submitted their proxies and is participating remotely or by proxies are present at today's meeting. Mr. Chairman, the stockholders present in accordance with their mode of attendance and percentage of their outstanding common shares held by them will be reflected in the stockholders' minutes of meeting.
Our annual stockholders meeting is being held via webcast as we continue to observe health and safety of our stockholders in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. The webcast allows our stockholders to participate in this meeting as if it was an in-person meeting. Mr. Secretary, please apprise our stockholders of the requirements and procedures for participating and voting in absentia.
Mr. Chairman, the requirements and procedures are set forth in the definitive information statement and in the explanation of agenda, which forms part of the notice of meeting. The following are the highlights as shown on the screen. Stockholders who successfully registered to attend and participate in this meeting may send their questions to Corporate Secretary at semirarampc.com. Questions will be addressed after other matters in the agenda, while others will be replied to via email. Voting is allowed only for stockholders who are able to register in the voting in absentia and through the chairman of the board as proxy. The voting portal shall remain open until 12 noon of today's meeting. Each of the proposed resolution for adoption and approval by the stockholders shall be shown during the course of the meeting. Except for the election of directors, all items in the agenda for approval requires an affirmative vote of stockholders representing at least majority of the outstanding voting stock present at the meeting. Sisip Gores Velayo and Company, or SGV, and the Corporate Secretary are designated as the Board of Canvassers to tabulate and validate the votes received. The results shall be reported by the Corporate Secretary during the course of the meeting. The casting of votes started last April 26, 2022. As of April 30, votes cast for this meeting is the percentage as shown on the screen. I shall report on this partial tabulation of votes during the course of the meeting. The final results of the votes shall be reflected in the stockholders' minutes of meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before proceeding with the next agenda, our Chairman of the Board will deliver his message to our stockholders.
fellow stockholders, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I would like to welcome you to our annual stockholders meeting. For a third straight year, circumstances dictate that we convene virtually. Wherever you are connecting from, I hope you are safe and doing well. In our meeting last year, I said it would take some time before our company returns to pre-pandemic profitability. My dim outlook was predicated on the severe economic consequences of the lockdowns, excessive water seepage at Malave North Block 7, and protracted outage of our SMPC Unit Number 2. Today, I am proud to report that our performance has far exceeded expectations. 2021 has been the most financially successful fiscal year in our history. The fact that it happened against pandemic and operational headwinds makes that feat even more meaningful. The magnitude of our recovery also demonstrates the resilience of our people and the essential role of our business in society. From a 10-year low, our consolidated net income surged to an all-time high of 16.2 billion pesos. Our consolidated revenues reached a record-setting 52.4 billion pesos due to stronger than expected coal and electricity demand. We were able to take advantage of the dramatic upswings because of our COVID-19 adaptation measures, water seepage management program, and power sales strategy. To paraphrase the words of our Roman philosopher, our stellar performance was a case of preparation meeting opportunity. Despite the market uncertainty and financial impact of the pandemic, we did not retrench people. We also provided them with vitamins, isolation facilities, tests, and constant health reminders to control workplace transmission. We fast-tracked the digitalization of key processes, particularly in the mine site. Using operational data and analytics, we were able to remotely monitor and manage their productivity. In December 2020, we voluntarily deferred mining operations in Malave North Block 7 so we could address the excessive water buildup in the area. For added flexibility and better risk management, we adopted a diversified power sales strategy that involves short and medium-term contracts and substantial uncontracted capacity. Because of these management decisions, we reduced the average water seepage level by 65%, allowing us to increase coal production by 8%. As coal demand and prices intensified, so did our shipments and inventory, which both grew double digits. Similarly, when electric consumption started to pick up, we had 45% in uncontracted dependable capacity for dispatch in the spot market. Our President and COO, Maria Cristina Gutianon, will provide you with a more detailed report on our company's operating performance later in her report. With our historic results and strong operating cash flow, we were able to generate remarkable value for our key stakeholders. In 2021, we achieved our best ever dividend payout of 12.7 billion pesos after declaring a regular cash dividend in March and a special cash dividend in October. To celebrate our 25th anniversary this year, our board approved regular cash dividend of 1 peso and 50 centavos per share, 25 centavos more than last year and our highest in 10 years. Our share price rebounded by 55% to 21 pesos and 35 centavos, just 3% shy of our 2019 closing price of 22 pesos. Government share reached 6.4 billion pesos, the highest in 41 years. Our contribution can go a long way in our country's economic bounce-back plan. Last March 28, our company was included in the newly formed mid-cap and dividend yield indices of the Philippine Stock Exchange. The former was designed to showcase mid-class companies, while the letter highlights those that consistently give high-yielding dividends. With our inclusion in these two indices, we hope to generate even more interest from the investing public. Moving on to ESG highlights. Our CN Corporate Governance Scorecard rating rose to over 107 points in the 2021 assessment run. This affirms our commitment to improving our corporate governance performance. For the second straight year, SMPC landed in the Bloomberg Gender Equality Index, which tracks the performance of public companies committed to transparency in gender data reporting. Only 4 listed companies in the Philippines joined the 2023 roster that included 418 companies across 45 countries and regions. This year, we celebrate our silver anniversary under DMCI Group. Getting here has been a journey of hardship, sacrifice, and fulfillment. It almost seems poetic that we are marking this milestone at a time of extreme market volatility and uncertainty. Aside from the COVID-19 outbreaks in Asia and Europe, we are confronted with decelerating global growth, escalating geopolitical tensions, and possible market interventions of China and Indonesia. The erratic movement of coal, fuel, and electricity prices should translate to uneven quarterly results, reduced margins, and high cash burn rate for our company. But I would like to assure you that we're doing everything we can to mitigate the risks, protect our cash flow, and deliver a performance worthy of commemoration. I would like to end my report by thanking those who made our 2021 a resounding success. Our board of directors who provided invaluable guidance, our employees who displayed amazing dedication and service, and our shareholders, regulators, business partners, host communities, and other stakeholders who accorded their trust and cooperation. With your continued support and our mutual efforts, we can look forward to another 25 years of growth and shared value. Maraming salamat. The next order of business is the approval of the previous minutes of the meeting held on May 3, 2021. Electronic copies of the said minutes have been posted and are available at the corporation's website. Mr. Secretary, please present the proposed resolution on this item and the results of the voting.
Mr. Chairman, management is proposing for approval of the following resolution as shown in the screen. Resolved that the stockholders of Semirara Mining and Power Corporation be, as it is hereby approve, confirm, and ratify the minutes of the annual stockholders meeting held last May 3, 2021. I am pleased to report that the stockholders voted the percentage of shares as shown in the screen represented in this meeting favorably, adopting the proposed resolution approving the annual stockholders minutes of previous meeting held on May 3, 2021. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, the resolution is approved.
Let us now move to the next order of business, which is the presentation of and approval of the President's report. Our President and Chief Operating Officer, Maria Cristina C. Gutierrez, will present to you her report.
To my fellow shareholders, colleagues in the board and management, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to our virtual annual stockholders meeting. Today, we look back on the events that led to our historic financial results and brace for another year of extreme volatility. In 2021, our company faced several headwinds and tailwinds. Aside from a raging pandemic, we were confronted with excessive water seepage, various plant outages, a China coal price cap, and a defective power plant equipment. On the flip side, China demand and import quota increased on accelerating industrial activities, mine shutdowns, and continuing ban on Australian coal. Domestic electricity consumption also returned to pre-pandemic levels as supply constraints, prolonged plant outages, and oil price hikes drove up prices. These developments triggered dramatic price shifts for our coal and power segments. Average Newcastle ICI4 and electricity spot prices all rose triple digits, resulting in double-digit growth in our average selling prices, or ASP. Our coal ASP expanded by 71%, while our electricity ASP increased by 49%. Improved market conditions magnified the operating gains in our mine site and softened the impact of our power generation decline. Our all-time high top line and bottom line were mostly driven by the coal segment, which made a strong comeback in 2021. Its performance was largely defined by our ability to control the water buildup in Molave North Block 7. From our December 2020 spike, we turned the corner in March 2021 and steadily reduced the water level since then. This allowed us to improve coal production by 8%, boost sales volume by 16%, and raise our high-grade coal inventory by 13%. It was a different story for our power segment as operational challenges persisted during the year. Combined plant outages rose by 14%, which reduced overall gross generation by 15%. The lower output translated to a 139% upturn in total replacement power purchases and a 4% decline in total power sales. A quarter of these sales was through the spot market, which allowed us to dispatch electricity at elevated rates. The underperformance of our power segment was mainly attributable to Unit 2 of SEMCalaca Power Corporation. To recall, its generator stator broke down in December 2020 after only 7 months of use. While it resumed operations on September 19, 2021, it did so at a derated capacity of 225 megawatt. On November 18, Unit 2 had a forced shutdown because of equipment failure. We also used the downtime to raise its capacity back to 300 megawatt. The plant was supposed to return online last January, but because of faulty machinery, supplier-induced delays, and an ongoing technical investigation, we are now looking at a Q3 resumption. We cannot discount the possibility of another forced outage pending the outcome of this investigation and implementation of appropriate remedial measures by our supplier. However, we would like to assure you that we are continuously working with them to resolve this matter. Overall, we expect stable output from the coal segment given the controlled water level at Molave NB7. Our goal is to produce up to 15 million metric tons. This should allow us to sell around 15 million metric tons of coal. As for the power segment, we see continued headwinds and tailwinds because of Unit 2 election-related activities, higher fuel prices, and full reopening of the economy. We are managing the situation very closely to improve overall availability and profitability. For 2022, we intend to spend 8.8 billion pesos for mine equipment refitting, power plant maintenance, and power plant construction. As a background, we are constructing a 30-megawatt power plant in Semirara Island to replace a 38-year-old facility and provide additional steady supply for our mining operations. Moving on to some ESG highlights, I am pleased to report that we completed the backfilling of North Panyan Pit last January, months ahead of our May 2022 commitment to the Department of Energy. Consequently, Panyan Pit is now the first large-scale open-pit mine in the Philippines to be fully rehabilitated by a mining company. With the support of DOE, our company accomplished in 6 years what should have taken 1 decade to complete. we reseeded 500 endangered giant clams in the coastal waters of Semirara Island. Giant clams are ecologically significant because they promote marine biodiversity and filter dirty seawater. We planted more than 600,000 mangroves covering over 190 hectares. Mangroves are powerful carbon sinks because they capture carbon dioxide and store these in the roots and branches. We recognize that the pandemic is not yet over. For this reason, we continue to work on our COVID-19 response and mitigation measures to protect our workforce and host communities. To date, 94% of our workforce has been fully vaccinated. We have donated 13,000 COVID-19 tests and over 3,000 vaccines to our host communities. To aid the national government in its pandemic and disaster relief efforts, we donated an aircraft that could hold over 1,000 cubic feet of cargo to the Philippine Army. 2022 marks our 25th year under DMCI Holdings. The journey to this milestone has been tough and sometimes disheartening, but it has also been meaningful and uplifting. We overcame many challenges and generated remarkable value for our stakeholders, some of which are now flashed on your screen. I think it is important to acknowledge those who were instrumental in making this happen. Our employees, both previous and current, who kept our company going because of their dedication, self-sacrifice, and hard work. Our past chairman, David M. Consunji, whose guidance and wisdom carried us through difficult times. Our past president and COO, Victor A. Consunji, who put his heart and soul into our operations and host communities. And our chairman and CEO, Isidro A. Consunji, whose vision and perseverance started it all. On behalf of everyone whose lives were positively impacted by our company, thank you. I would also like to thank our board of directors for their trust and guidance, our customers, host communities, and regulators, without whom we would not be where we are today, and our shareholders, business partners, and stakeholders for supporting and believing in our company. Ladies and gentlemen, amid the disruptions and volatility induced by the pandemic, our company delivered a historic performance. Topping 2021 will not be easy, but my colleagues and I are up to the task. I hope to provide you with more good news in our next stockholders meeting. Thank you for listening to my report. Isang magandang umaga sa inyong lahat.
Mr. Secretary, please present the proposed resolution to the approval of the President's report and the results of the voting as delivered by our President and Chief Operating Officer.
Mr. Chairman, management is proposing the following resolution as shown in the screen. Resolved that the stockholders of Semirara Mining and Power Corporation be, as it is hereby, approve, confirm, and ratify the President's report as presented by the President and the Chief Operating Officer of the Corporation. I am pleased to report that the stockholders voted the percentage of shares as shown in the screen represented in this meeting favorably adopting the proposed resolution approving the President's report. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, the resolution is approved.
The next order of business is the presentation and approval of the audited financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2021. Mr. Secretary, please present the proposed resolution on this item and the results of the voting.
Mr. Chairman, electronic copies of the audited financial statement for 2021 of the Corporation have been posted as part of the definitive information statement and is available at the Corporation's website. Mr. Chairman, management is proposing the following resolution for approval as shown in the screen. Resolved that the stockholders of Semirara Mining and Power Corporation be, as it is hereby, approve, confirm, ratify the Corporation's audited financial statement for the year ended December 31, 2021. I am pleased to report that the stockholders voted the percentage of shares as shown in the screen represented in this meeting favorably adopting the proposed resolution approving the corporation's audited financial statement for the year ended December 31, 2021. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, the resolution is approved.
The next item is the ratification of the acts of the Board of Directors and Management from the date of the last annual stockholders meeting and up to the date of this meeting. May I ask the Corporate Secretary to explain the matter, present the proposed resolution on this item, and the results of the voting.
Mr. Chairman, our board and management seek approval and ratification of all the acts and resolution of the Board of Directors and various board committees exercising powers delegated by the board adopted from May 3, 2021 and until today. These acts and resolutions are reflected in the minutes of meeting of the Board of Directors and of the board committees, including elections of officers and committee membership, corporate governance policies, and all matters covered by disclosures to the SEC and the Philippine Stock Exchange. Stockholders' ratification is also being sought for all acts of management and the officers performed in accordance with the resolutions of the board, various board committees, bylaws, and as part of the corporation's general conduct of business from May 3, 2021 until today. Mr. Chairman, management is proposing the following resolution as shown in the screen. Resolved that the stockholders of Semirara Mining and Power Corporation be, as it is hereby, approve, confirm, and ratify all the acts, decisions, and resolutions of the Board of Directors, various board committees, and all acts of management since May 3, 2021 and until the date of this meeting. I am pleased to report that the stockholders voted the percentage of shares as shown in the screen represented in this meeting favorably adopting the proposed resolution approving, ratifying, confirming all acts and resolutions of the Board of Directors, various board committees, and all acts of management since May 3, 2021 and until the date of this meeting. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, the resolution is approved.
The next order of business is the election of the Board of Directors for the year 2022 to 2023.
Mr. Chairman, in accordance with the bylaws of the corporation, its Manual of Corporate Governance, the SEC rules, the names of the following nominees were submitted to the Corporate Governance Committee, and each one has accepted, given their consent to their respective nominations. The nominees are nominated as regular directors are Isidro A. Consunji, Cesar A. Benaventura, George A. Consunji, Herbert M. Consunji, Maria Cristina C. Gochanon, Maria Edwina C. Laperal, and Josefa Consuelo C. Reyes. Nominated as independent directors are Rogelio M. Murga, Honorio O. Reyes Lau, Antonio Jose U. Periquet Jr., and Ferdinand M. de la Cruz. The nomination for directors closed on March 4, 2022. On March 14, 2022, the Corporate Governance Committee, in the exercise of its duties, determined that the 11 nominees are qualified to serve as directors of the corporation.
Mr. Secretary, may we have the result of the election of directors?
I am pleased to report, Mr. Chairman, that the votes cast for the nominees for directors have garnered at least the number of votes or percentage of shares as shown in the screen represented in this meeting. With the number of votes, I certify that each of the directors have obtained sufficient votes to be elected as directors of the corporation. Resolved that the stockholders of Semirara Mining and Power Corporation be, as it is hereby, elect the following as directors of the corporation for the ensuing year to serve as such beginning today until their successors are duly elected and qualified. Again, as regular directors, Isidro A. Consunji, George A. Consunji, Cesar A. Benaventura, Herbert M. Consunji, Maria Cristina C. Gochanon, Maria Edwina C. Laperal, and Josefa Consuelo C. Reyes. As independent directors, Rogelio M. Murga, Honorio O. Reyes Lau, Antonio Jose U. Perequet Jr., and Ferdinand M. de la Cruz.
The next order of business is the approval of the appointment of the independent external auditor.
Mr. Chairman, in accordance with the corporation's governance policy, the Audit Committee recommends the accounting firm SISIP Gores Velayo and Company, or SGV, as the corporation's independent external auditor. Accordingly, the Audit Committee proposes and the Board of Directors agree to endorse the appointment of SGV as the corporation's independent external auditor for the current fiscal year 2022. In this regard, Mr. Chairman, management proposes the following resolution as shown in the screen. Resolved that the stockholders of Semirara Mining and Power Corporation be, as it is hereby, approve, confirm, and ratify the appointment of SISIP Gores Velayo and Company, or SGV, as the independent external auditors of the corporation for the current fiscal year 2022. I am pleased to report that the stockholders voted the percentage of shares, as shown in the screen, represented in this meeting, favorably adopting the proposed resolution approving the appointment of SISIP Gores Velayo and Company, or SGV, as the independent external auditor of the corporation for the current fiscal year 2022. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, the resolution is approved.
Secretary, are there other matters that require consideration by the stockholders?
Chairman, there are no other matters.
Mr. Secretary, are there any questions or clarifications from the stockholders?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there are some questions as we will show on the screen. Mr. Chairman, there is a question coming from Mr. Gabitan of Maybank Securities. The question is, what's your coal production outlook until 2027? Do you have enough reserves to last till the end of your coal operating contract? May we request our President to respond to the question?
At an annual coal production rate of 13 to 16 million metric tons, the company has enough coal reserves until the expiration of its coal operating contract, COC, in 2027.
Another question, Mr. Chairman, coming from Mr. Ronald Chua of Campus Leonardo Securities. When do you expect to complete the technical investigation for Unit 2? And what steps are you taking to make sure that the plant will run more reliably post quarter 3?
The OEM committed to provide results of the technical investigation at the end of the unit repair in Q3 2022, subject to supplier-induced delays. Currently, the plant's technical team is reviewing the inspection and test plan of the OEM so that more stringent acceptance criteria can be agreed and any additional reliability tests needed can already be identified. During the repair, independent third-party tests will also be conducted with our technical advisor to comprehensively test the repaired unit.
There's another question coming from Jonathan Lau. The question is, China coal consumption is expected to slow down because of lockdowns. Can the local and other foreign markets pick up the slack left by China?
Yes, we were able to establish and supply Semirara coal to new local buyers in the power and cement plants, namely San Miguel's power plants in Masinloc, Limay, Malita, and Petron, Aboitiz Power, Thermal Luzon Incorporated, and Therma South Inc., Northern Cement, and Goodfound. We also were able to develop new export markets, namely Korea, Cambodia, and Brunei.
Another question still coming from Mr. Ronald Chua of Campus Lanusa. What do you intend to do with the rehabilitated Panyan mine? Can it be converted into a solar or wind farm?
We continue to focus on restoration beyond compliance activities in Panyan Mine that involves re-establishing biodiversity values, ecosystem services, and habitat types. As this remains a co-reservation area, the possibility of converting it into a specific project would largely depend on the direction of our main regulator and concerned stakeholders.
I think we have a last question from still coming from Mr. Gabitan, Maybank Securities. Will the company start selling limestone to offset the decline in coal demand because of China's economic slowdown?
We currently have no plan to sell limestone commercially, as we mainly intend to use limestone as an input to our cement project, in line with our vertical integration model. Further, it could not offset the decline in coal demand due to low commercial value.
Thank you, Madam President.
Mr. Secretary, are there any further questions?
Mr. Chairman, we do not have any more questions.
There being none, we will now adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much to our stockholders for attending. Stay safe, everyone.
To view this recorded webcast and to read our 2021 Annual and Sustainability Report, go to the links provided on your screen. For questions, clarifications, and concerns regarding our ASM, send us an email to corporatesecretary@semirarampc.com. Thank you and good morning.